few adjustments here. All right, howdy folks, welcome back. So let me switch you over here to this one right here. Here we are at May 14th of 2022, and we got our loop running here. And I'll let that run for a second here so you guys can see what's going on in there. And then I'll start pointing stuff out. Okay, so what I was looking at is taking place up here over on this side. We have this separation right here, there and there. They're going opposite ways, and here it seems we have these objects entering into the sun or going inward against the solar wind, and there seems to have been a little event right here, and I'm going to reverse it. And then right here, see this stuff separating, going different directions? That's reversed. Here's forward. They're going separate directions. There was an incident right here, just like we saw the other day, where something separated and went two different directions right there. And we'll go frame by frame through it. And there's other stuff I want to report on too. So, but right now, let's pause it right there. Now let's back up here a few frames to where these things, all right, now this is the very first frame. We're at 024. There seems to be a small little round object with some kind of bow shock already there. Let me just pull this down for you and blow it up a little bit, what I'm talking about. So here's our object. It's very faint in here with some kind of bow shock, and then this splits and goes two ways. This goes up, and then this part goes downward. So I'm going to put that back into motion here. Oops, that's backwards. And pull it down here. Right there. You can see it happen. So there's a couple of frames right before it. We have a couple missing frames, and then this incident happening. So I'm going to let it run for a few times right there. Yeah, this splitting where right here, stuff going up this way and stuff heading back down that way. And even over on the red side, like last time, there's a shadow effect. It's very faint. I don't know if my camera will pick it up, but right in here, in just a second here, you'll see something going back down in there again. So it's visible again on both of these spectrums, I guess you would say. Make the wavy lines go away. There we go. I don't know if the camera's picking it up very well, but so let's go back up over here again, and not just here. Here's our incident. Stuff going this way and stuff going that way, happening right about there. But if you look around, there's all sorts of inflow. There's objects going in. There's this. So pick a spot and watch it for a minute, and you just see all sorts of these little things raining down on the sun. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, because I want to hit this reverse switch here. Let me see how close I can get to it. Bear with me for a second here. I'm trying to do a little something here. Okay, so we're watching right up here. Whoops. Here's our separation event. I'm going to reverse it. You see it go back together. There it separates. It goes back together. Here it separates again and moves out. So there's something going on up there. We have two different flows. One is going against the solar wind. So that effect that we were looking at last time seems to be happening again, and right before the separation, we're missing a couple of frames here. Let's go over here and I'll pause it. So let's back it up here. So there's 024, that's the first frame of the day. We go one more frame. Here's our little incident area, and then it skips from 036 to 2 o'clock. So we missed an hour and 20, but here's our separation event. This is our first glimpse at it. Here's our first little leading edge that it had, and now the little black thing has dropped away, and watch as they separate and go in different directions. Okay? There's other little objects darting in there too. Small little CME blast, but here, there's a little black object right here. Pull this over, zoom in on it. It appears to be one of these little black objects, these little stellar cores, whatever they are, right here captured. And this is the one that's going into the sun, or behind the occulter, we'll say. Let's just say that, because I don't know if they go into the sun. I have a feeling they hit that magnetic field, bounce off, ricochet, and come out at a different angle. But that's just my opinion. So you can see, I'm going to back this up, and you can see how it backs out. Now we're going to go forward and watch right here. This little dot goes back behind the occulter. Then we have another CME over here. Oh, this is the beginning again. That was the very end. So this is the very beginning. Let me put it back into motion again for you guys. We're focusing on this curtain-like effect and separation. If you turn your head to the right about 45 degrees and watch right in this zone, you'll see the separation effect that I'm talking about. So let that run for a second. Like I said, tilt your head to the right and watch right there. We have that effect going on again. And I'm waiting for explanations out of NASA or some kind of scientist to try to explain this. You know, same with that last one. So there's that event that just happened and is currently happening as we speak. And let's go back a day, because here is Friday the 13th. We skipped this day. I didn't do a video that day, so we're going to go back and cover this one again. I'm going to let the loop play here for a second and see if you can spot what's going on in there before I start to point it out, because I mean, you guys have been watching me for a while, understand, you know what to look for, and it's kind of blatantly obvious for people who know, what to look for. So, and not only is this object, the one I'm talking about, coming out over here, right here, you can see material coming out and going around it faster than it's moving out. Okay, it has a clearly defined bow shock on it. Here, we'll pause it here in just a second here. And we'll go over this one. Boom. All right, this nice round object right here moving out. It's got a little bow shock on the front. It's doing its normal thing here. We're going to go forward as it moves out. It appears there's a darker little black circle type core. This is probably its magnetic field. I got to... Ooh, it looks like the camera picking it up right now. I'm going to zoom in on it anyway, so I'll pull this down, zoom in here, and you can see there's a darker little core right in here. This is probably a magnetic field, but it has some plasma draping over it, going around it and stuff. And this plasma comes spitting out and goes up and over it faster than it's moving out. So that's what tells me there's an object in there. So we're having this weird cascading effect, and we're still having this kind of activity too. So something else has changed with the sun, but we're still capturing this kind of activity. I'm going to keep going through this a little bit. It appears there's stuff spitting out down here. This looks like a round object. Who knows? But this one, I wanted you to see this bow shock on the back side. This is the material hitting it and going out and around it faster than this thing's moving out. It's creating a bow shock on the back side of it because it's going slower than the solar wind. Let me back it up a little bit so you can see that bow shock start to form. It went from a teardrop shape. Now as that stuff goes out over it, you can see the bow shock form. The instrument actually picks up this bow shock forming around this object. This instrument is telling you now that there is a bow shock here on the face of this object, or on the outskirts of its magnetic field, possibly. Let's say that. That sounds maybe a little more correct, because this seems to be a magnetic bubble around its core in the middle, and this plasma is hitting that magnetic field and bouncing and going around it. So let's just say that's possibly what it's doing. So next. Okay, and then that thing moves out. And we have another CME going on over here. That was at the tail end of yesterday. So I'll put this back into motion again. I want you guys to watch here. Let me pull this up. Okay, I want you to watch how material is streaming out and going around it faster than it's moving out. Okay, there's clearly something there. You can see a core, little small object, which appears to have some kind of magnetic field around it. And that's what's causing the plasma to divert and go around it and dam up on the back side of it, creating this little bow shock. It's damming up on the back side of it is what it looks like it's doing, creating a little bow shock there. So, boy, do we got some crazy stuff going on with our sun, and it seems to be that not many people know. They're still reporting on the X flares and everything like that. They're too busy looking at the surface of the sun and not what's going on out here in the outer corona. There's layers and layers of corona that probably in this magnetic field, and these things interact with it and splash into them. They cause these splash effects. Let's go back to yesterday. Here's our splash effect that I'm talking about right here. Boom. You can see material going up this direction and an object coming down. It makes some kind of little connection with the sun here, some kind of plasma connection. It starts to brighten up here as it gets closer and closer to the sun. Now, this is the occulter. The sun is still down here. It's still way out from the sun, but it's starting to interact with it. So, and this little separating thing right here is happening again right over here. If you tilt your head to the right, you'll see that separation thing again. And I dare the scientific community, these astrophysicists, to explain what's going on here. I'd love to hear their story, because I know it's a bunch of malarkey. I can tell just by looking at this what's going on there. So here we are again with more of this strange activity, you guys. I got to keep bringing this to you when I see it. Oh, something else I was going to report. So this is the 14th. And we saw this other little flow going in here too. Okay, it's not just this separation. I want you to pick an area, pick an edge, and just watch it for a second, and you'll see stuff flowing into it. So I'll let that run for a second, and you'll see little objects coming in up here at the top. This is almost at the North Pole again, like that last one. They're coming in way up high up here. It used to be every once in a while you'd see something going in on the side, but here we get all this activity, all this stuff going in. This flow. I'm just going to say they look like objects going against the flow. They might be back behind. Like, say if this was a ball and you were looking at it, and they might be coming back from the backside, hitting the ball or the magnetic field. The field could be circular, spherical as well. Hitting that spherical atmosphere type magnetic field and glancing off of it and squirting out down at the sides. I see some of these coming in, and it looks like they come squirting back out. So that flow was happening on the 14th. And now let's go back to the 13th because I started noticing here's some of this flow going in again. We already discussed this object, but look over here on the left. This flow is starting to happen again. And you can see right in here, there's a couple of things going in right there. And these are going against the solar wind. Unless they're, way out at an angle and they're still fighting against it. So I'll just leave that there for a second so you guys can see there's stuff. Just this weird flow. And again, we had a big CME blast over here. You know what? Let's go through this one just a little bit more detail on this one because we only looked at one aspect of this day. So where's my mouse? I'm going to come over here. I'm going to pause right here. Okay, down below here, there's something else going on right here. It looks like we have a dark circular object here. Zoom in here. Looks like we have something right here. There's probably something here in the core that's creating this round magnetic bubble effect. Let me see if I can go back a frame before, and we'll watch this thing emerge. So here we are as it starts to emerge from behind the occulter. Instruments reacting. It's got a nice, perfectly round bow shape to it. Now, as it emerges, there's this second little ghost stripe. It seems to be a ghost of the original frame right there. So, and it kind of holds up for a second. I believe our object's right here. Here's the original front edge. This is like a ghost shadow effect or something of previous images, I believe. And it looks like our object is right in here. And I'm going to zoom in here for you guys because using the other techniques, this little red line, you can see this major dent right here coming out, going up, going back in and going back up. There's something right here putting a huge dent in the front of this CME. Okay, so I believe our object's probably right in here. So zoom back out. Yeah, you can kind of see the round face of it right here. It's kind of cloaked in some material, but get a tad bit bigger right there. Best I can for you guys. Hopefully you guys are able to see these images. Now, as they proceed out, you can see we have this teardrop effect again. There's stretching plasma out as it moves out. We got another little spurt coming out over here, some smaller up there, but look at this one coming out now over here. The instrument reacting to it. There we go. You guys see this round spherical shape right here? There's something in there. Almost kind of looks like a little eye. Okay. So now we'll proceed as it moves out. Cloaked in a bunch of plasma. This one's really blurry. It's got a lot of plasma. It's stretched out with it that kind of wraps around these objects and cloaks them a little bit. This little black dot, when it moves out to the next frame, is right here. Even though it's almost out of frame, you can tell it has a circular back to it right here. So, zoom back out, bring it back over a little bit. And thank you for your patience with me here in this instrument and zooming in and stuff. On we go. So here we go. This one's still moving out, dragging all kinds of plasma with it, having secondary CMEs, like trailing objects. There appears to be something in there. I'm not going to keep pointing out all the little ones. You guys can look at that stuff, but it looks like there's a lot of like debris, not debris, but even just a lot of objects, we'll say. I'll leave that one there for a second. Here, pull this one down a little bit. Because you can kind of see, here's our black circular object, and you can see plasma going out and around it and enveloping it. Hopefully the camera's picking this up. It looks like it's doing okay, as long as my hand is out of the way. Okay, zoom back out again. So there's obviously some kind of object in there, and as it moves on out, you're going to see its magnetic field wrapped around it. It's still here in the center, but now you have this nice round magnetic field. Here's our little black. Here might be a good one right there. Maybe you guys can make it out. There's something in there. It's very black, very dark, circular core like in the middle of this round magnetic bubble structure. So there's another one. And what was I going to say too is on this latest curtain effect here, I want to go back to this one here. This effect right here, we could see the faint shadows over here on this side. I don't know if... Yeah, you can barely see it. It's probably not worth it. You'd have to come over here to this instrument and look really close. But it's created shadows again up here, just like that other one did when it crept in. These ones creeping in are leaving faint. It's right in that area right there that you can see it. Right there. So these things are leaving shadows. They're bouncing in, bouncing out, taking plasma with them. There's multiple objects. I believe they're different sizes. I believe some of these have magnetic fields around them that are bigger than other ones. Some look like they're, magnetically dead and don't have a field at all and just bounce right out. And some other ones look like they have their own magnetic field around them. And it could be, this is how our planet was made. After pass by the sun, it finally gets a magnetic field, gets all molten and hot, and then it gets slung out into space and cools off and creates the crust around our Earth. We might be witnessing how planets are made. When you see this stuff coming in, it's picking up energy each time, and all the pent-up energy is just like the pent-up energy in our planet, just like all the magma in our core. So how did that get there? How did all that, magma and heat, it's not just from one explosion. I think it's from going past our sun like this, ripping material off each time until it gets to a certain density, and then it gets slung out into space and finds its spot magnetically field positioned around the sun. So maybe this is a new little thing we're learning. This is how planets are made or something. I don't know. Who knows? But there's something different going on here. All right, this is not normal. We got this weird separation right here again. Real quick, close with that shot right there. Tilt your head to the right for a second, and then you'll see it. It almost looks like a piece of paper being torn in half. That's what it reminds me of right there. Right down the middle. Boom. And then half of it goes into the sun, the rest of it goes out into space, or I don't know. That last one, though, looked like a teardrop dropped right into this one right here. Watch this little round area right there. Boom. So these things puncture the magnetic field like that. They make little wakes, little splashes, little ripples in a pond almost type effect when they reach in and puncture one of these layers of the sun, of its magnetic field. So I think that's all I got for you tonight. I'm going to leave you with this one. So that was the 12th right there. Here's today's latest one right here. And like I said, if you guys got any ideas, please leave your comments too as to what you think might be going on in here. I'm always willing to hear other people's ideas. So that's it for now. I love you all. I miss you all. God bless you all. And until my next video, bye.